right. Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick King, and I'm the Sustainable Households Manager for Urban Green Lab. And you are tuning in to another episode of Sustainable Nashville Live. The purpose of this series is to open a dialogue between the public and those change makers in Nashville's sustainability community. Today, I'm here with Talia Greenberg. Talia is a recent graduate and embarking on a journey to make landscape architecture more sustainable. Before we get going, just want to remind you all that Urban Green Lab is a nonprofit, and if you choose to support the work that we do, you can make a donation at our website at www.urbangreenlab.org, or you can text 44321, and you can text Team UGL to that number, and it'll send you a donation link to your phone. With that, Talia, let's get started. First things first, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I voted today and got a coronavirus test, so off to a good start.
all of the things, really hitting it hard.
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's really nice weather today, which is great. And I think I'm gonna go ride my bike later this afternoon. Yeah. So can you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I am a Nashville native. I grew up with an interest in nature and science and art, and that really has carried with me throughout my life. And so when I went to Sewanee, the University of the South, I decided to study natural resources, and I graduated last year with a degree in natural resources. So I'm continuing that path and pursuing a career in landscape design. And yeah, I love to hike. I love to be outdoors, and I love indoor plants.
You have several behind you. You have really
Yes.
good lighting situation going on right now.
Yeah, this is our plant office space.
I have exactly one.
I noticed.
In this room, there are others behind me. I think you can see like a snake plant in this window pane here. That's awesome. Could you tell us a little bit about what exactly landscape architecture is?
So landscape architecture it uses design to blend the outside world into hard infrastructure. So buildings, roads, houses, things like that, highways. So it really uses design to connect hardscaping with landscaping.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a solid definition. How that was that was a genuine question. I wasn't like, oh, I know the answer. It's just like thank you. I don't have a design bone in my body, so I'm just going to preface by saying that. So
I'm sure you
do. Could you tell us a little bit of how landscape architecture and design relates to sustainability?
Yeah, so landscape design and architecture as related to sustainability, I mean, there's so many avenues that it relates. A really smart, good design can accomplish multiple objectives. So if you are trying to create a space that is going to be lessening noise pollution because you live nearby or the space is nearby a busy road, there are ways of designing a space to do that using certain trees, certain plants, certain locations of those plants to really accomplish that. And you can do that sustainably, picking plants that won't need a whole lot of maintenance that requires like fossil fuels. Using native plants, that's always less maintenance than using exotic plants. So there are a lot of ways that you can make landscape design sustainable and really positively benefit the earth and people. And I think it's really grounded in research. It's grounded in understanding what makes something sustainable, like what are
Mm-hmm.
you trying to keep sustainable. um, so I think understanding how um, even rain falls in a watershed, how the earth is kind of letting letting like the land guide your design, and using the earth to give you some knowledge, and um, incorporating that into objectives in your design. I think there are a lot of ways that you can really make a green space sustainable,
Mm-hmm.
for people and for the environment.
Yeah, that's awesome. Uh, so the next logical question there is, how did you get interested in landscape design and slash architecture?
Yeah, well, like I said, I've always been super fascinated by nature, spent a lot of time, outside and on hikes and trails when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But I also would notice childhood videos of me explaining things that I knew nothing about, having to do with the ocean, like
Mm-hmm.
just random stuff that I thought I knew so much about. So I was always interested in, I would call them like soft sciences,
Mm-hmm.
science that really anyone can learn and understand, about nature. And when I was in school at the University of the South, I didn't know exactly how I wanted to channel, my passion, but I knew natural resources would be a great way to, incorporate all sorts of knowledge that can relate to, just environmental health and issues. So when I was in school, my senior thesis, I made a map of the Arboretum,
Mm-hmm.
and that connected some dots for me. So I was able to make it mobile, accessible through your smartphone,
Mm-hmm.
and accessible to anyone. It was really easy to use, and there was great information on all of them, on all of the data points of the trees. So that connected the dots of how can we make people feel more connected to the environment that they're surrounded by,
Mm-hmm.
and how can we give them more information than maybe what they were looking for,
Mm-hmm.
to really pique their interest, and make people, understand more about the trees around them.
Mm-hmm.
So after doing that and really doing some serious soul searching, after graduating, I realized that I could use all my skills and passions, all doing landscape design or landscape architecture. So using my artistic skills, my passion for sustainability, my
Mm-hmm.
passion for plants and design. So that's really how it all came to be. And it hasn't been that long since I realized that this is kind of the avenue I want to take.
Mm-hmm.
But it's exciting, and I'm ready to learn more and get more experience in this field.
Yeah, that that was a lovely answer. I'm inspired all of a sudden. I really like the idea of marrying design with the environment and using that as a tool to educate people.
Hmm.
Uh, because it just, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like by and large throughout human history, we've just been kind of like fighting with our environment, and it's just like
Yeah.
trying to change it to make it more amenable to our needs. But we can see instances of where that backfires very quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And you can design for, a person, or you can design for multiple people, or you can design for people and nature. I mean, there's there's so many ways of doing that, that I think you really need that mindset
Hmm.
to fully, get the big picture of like, well, what do you really want to accomplish with your work?
Hmm.
And for me, I want to make green spaces accessible. I want to create more green spaces in cities, and ultimately kind of blend people, blend that boundary that industrialization has created between people and nature.
Yeah. Uh, best of luck to you. This I'm all in.
I'll definitely need help on the way, but
Yeah.
it requires a lot of collaboration, I think.
Yeah, collaboration and just a whole heap of systems thinking. Could you tell us a little bit more about what exactly a green space is, and what are some of the benefits of green spaces?
Yeah, so a green space, it's just how it sounds, really any space that has like greenery, some grass, some trees, plants. For me, like I said, green spaces allows that relationship between people and the environment to become more harmonious and cohesive. Um, a green space can also provide people with an area to really like unwind and de-stress, because we're constantly in I feel like we're constantly facing stressors from just the industrial world, that the modern world that we live in. So taking a step back and taking a step out of that, it does wonders for people. It does wonders for our physical and our mental health. So to me, that's really what green spaces provide. And the benefits are, I mean, I couldn't even list all of them, but just to name a few, like mental and physical health, just beautifying a city, crime rates decreasing, environmental health getting better, and I think just fighting climate change. It depends on design, but I think it can do so much for a city, for the people, for the environment, and it's necessary, especially when cities are constantly growing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And kind of talking about stressors, not that there's anything to be stressed about these days, but I have been spending personally more of my time in green spaces as well, just for all those innumerable reasons you just listed. But yeah,
Me
for
too.
sure. Ooh, I just thought of a fun question. Do you have a favorite green space here in Nashville?
I do. I would say Edwin Warner Park.
Okay.
It's a full-on park,
Mm-hmm.
but I really like that park because it's so big. And I grew up in that area, so I was always going over there as a kid. They have a dog park. They have like a soccer field across the street. Great hiking. The only thing that I would be able to critique on is the signage is not, it is so easy to get lost in that park. So I don't even dare to like go on all of the trails because I know I won't make it out of there. So if anyone's watching this that can, do something about that, definitely needs better signage.
Well, I'm sure they would appreciate the critique, and the folks who have been lost in the park would appreciate some proper signage.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a preferred green space. The closest to me is just Shelby Bottoms, and there's so much to do there.
I love Shelby Bottoms.
Okay, I'm happy it's a good one.
Yeah. Do you use the green space or the I'm blanking on the word, greenways a lot to bike?
That's where I'm going to be biking this afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the greenways here. They're
love the greenways. Can't say enough great things about the greenways.
Yeah.
So next question here. Ooh, how does sustainable landscape design and climate change intersect?
Lots of ways. So it could be things like cooling cities down. Even if it's not like a full-on green space, just medians, having trees and plants in medians can really help cool cities down. I mean, so much heat is trapped within cities. I think it's called the heat island effect or something. Um, and yeah, trees, when they transpire, they just do wonders with cooling spaces down. Energy saving. So if you have a house or an office space that has windows on the south facing side, adding some deciduous trees on that side to provide some cooling in the summer, and then in the winter when the leaves fall, provide some heat. And same with like on the north side, adding evergreen trees to protect from northern winds. So things like that, but then also protecting watersheds, our waterways from pollutants, mitigating stormwater, erosion, and then just creating more of an ecological balance. So when people feel this connection with a green space, or feel the connection that they have with maybe the stream in their backyard, they love it, and they have respect for it, and they treat it with respect, and then they can sort of start to feel responsible for maintaining that beauty. And I think in all those ways that benefits, the environment, and it can change the trajectory of climate change.
Yeah.
So it's not just one way, it's like so many ways all working together.
Yeah. And that kind of touches off of my next question, which are some of the positive outcomes of sustainable landscape design. And I feel like you've just been listing those throughout this entire interview.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. But just having those greater sense of ownership over green spaces, greater sense of community, greater health outcomes.
And just better health. I mean, people just living better lives. And it's hard to really understand how taking a walk in the woods could really help your mental health and physical health, but try it. And then if it still doesn't work, let me know, but it will work. You have to be willing to like accept the help, and seek it out in places maybe that you haven't before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody go walk in the woods if you can. It's good stuff.
Hug a tree.
Hug a tree, but make sure you're masked up and socially distant.
Yes.
So let's see. Landscape architecture can clearly be seen in examples of green roofs and rain gardens. What are some of the unseen examples that people may not be aware of?
So this question really stumped me, because it was like, what is unseen? What are people paying attention to, and what do they not notice? I think it's really easy for people to pay attention to like a green roof, or a rain garden, or maybe inside a building there's like a green wall. Those are features that can easily be noticed. And I could talk about using medians as sound barriers, or playgrounds, or making less room for cars and more room for people. I think those things aren't as seen as they could be, but I think in general, just having the government and like people's mindsets placing environmental health and environmental justice equally with human health and public health, and social justice. I think that hasn't been as harmonious and cohesive as it could be. And so I think that's kind of what I'm waiting for, is that's what I haven't really seen yet, is full-on cities taking responsibility for public health and environmental health, and finding all sorts of ways to facilitate that and to make that better. So that's my answer because
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a bigger picture kind of person. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think there's probably a lot of cool landscape architecture features or designs that I don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
You might not know about, but really what I'm waiting to see is just that full on community relationship, including the environment
Mm-hmm. All
and
right.
being supported by, the powers, um, the people in power and just the people.
Yeah. All right. That was a great answer. I really appreciated that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think as a species, we're just so in tune to the now and the present.
Mhm.
So it's kind of hard for us to take a step back, look at a big picture, and especially like a huge issue like climate change, like redesigning cities.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah. So hopefully that is something that we will see from people in power very soon,
Yeah, I hope so.
especially if they're listening.
Yes.
Uh, so Urban Green Lab has launched a new campaign called hashtag Find Your Lab, which encourages everyone to explore sustainable living and create a lab of learning in their own life. Could you tell us something that you're currently working on to personally live more sustainably?
I am trying to start my gardening. I have like a really small tomato garden that
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to harvest some tomatoes from this season, but it was really last minute. I didn't do any planning, and I would really love to incorporate that into my life because it gives me a a sense of like power and puts me in a position of power
Mm-hmm.
where I can control what I'm eating. I feel more connected to the earth. I would love to start composting
Mm-hmm.
and adding compost to my garden. So that's a really big thing I would like to make that I'm working on
Mm-hmm.
in my life, and everything else is like recycling and um, using less water and using less energy. Those are things that I learned from Urban Green Lab in
Mm-hmm.
2015, and those are things that stuck with me, and now they're just normal things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but after being introduced to foodscaping. So I
Mm-hmm.
worked at Nashville Foodscapes, and that was my introduction to that. And after being introduced to foodscaping, I would love for that to be a part of my life and really a part of the city and a part of everyone's lives because I think that's so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there on foodscaping, and I think it's the catch line, gardens not yards or something like that, or
Um, uh, grow more mola. I don't remember.
it's something super zingy, but I guess not zingy enough for us to remember it. So, um, well, I got one more question for you, and this one might be a pretty big one. But what's your sustainable vision for the city of Nashville? And you can maybe better think about this question as if you had a magic wand right now and you could wave it. What would an ideal Nashville look like? One that's more sustainably designed, or
Yeah, I think sustainable design is something that pops up into my head right away
mm-hmm,
because of the amount of traffic we have. In my neighborhood, we don't have any sidewalks,
mm-hmm,
and I know multiple neighborhoods that don't have sidewalks. So, um, having easier public transportation so that people aren't having to use cars as much and having more space for pedestrians and
mm-hmm,
public hangouts and just having more space to not be in your home and not be at a restaurant and not be at a cafe but just to be outside.
mm-hmm,
So I know that's a lot and probably years and years and years of work to make that happen. But less cars, more people,
mm-hmm,
accessible transportation for everyone, um, and creating green spaces using land trusts and
mm-hmm.
any way that we can to save our green spaces, really.
Hmm. Yeah, that is yeah, I totally agree. I'm really passionate about, redesigning cities for pedestrians and people that live there as opposed to cars, because
Mhm.
so much of our modern infrastructure is just dominated on the fact that everyone has to have a car or should have a car
Oh yeah.
or needs to have a car. And yeah, not a
And
big
I
fan
think,
of cars.
yeah, and I think it depends on, you can look in certain neighborhoods
Hmm.
to be in a walkable neighborhood. There's Sylvan Park, there's 100 Oaks. I mean, there's a lot of different spaces where you would be able to get from point A to point B,
Hmm.
C, D, by walking. But it's not everywhere.
Hmm.
So, yeah, like just the ability to walk around Nashville is not there. And I want to be able to do that.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah, totally agree with you. Well, sweet Talia, that's all I have for you today. Now, if viewers have any additional questions or want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach you?
You can reach me on my email, taliazgreenberg@gmail.com. Um, that's pretty much the best way to get in touch with me. So
Okay.
don't be scared to reach out.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll be providing that email address for folks as well. And one last thing before we go, are there any events or anything that you would like to plug for folks?
Ooh, I don't know of any
Hmm.
upcoming events. I mean, I am going to be attending the Urban Green Lab Roundtable meeting
Ooh.
and the Environmental Justice meeting, I think August 19th or
Hmm.
something.
Yes.
So I'll definitely be doing that.
Hmm.
Trying to stay involved with as much stuff as possible.
Hmm.
I may have already missed the Twig meeting for the month. That might have been. Oh, I think it's actually
It's tomorrow. Yeah.
tomorrow. Okay, so I'll be attending that.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that's really all I have for you.
No, that's perfect. So yeah, the Urban Green Lab Roundtable, which everyone should come to. We're doing environmental justice on August 19th, and the Twig meeting on Friday. So yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Talia, thank you so much for taking your time out and doing this with us.
thank you, Patrick. Thanks for having me and giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, of course. Um, so next week we'll be interviewing Ginger Rose of Grow Enrichment. And if you have any questions for Ginger or a recommendation for an organization that you would like to learn more about, feel free to email me. And my email address is patrick@urbangreenlab.org. That's all we have for you today. But until the next time, remember to live sustainably.